difference, one cup at a time. Tea time. So be sure to grab your tea, grab a seat, and tune in to Miss Liz. Tea time, making a difference, one cup at a time. Tea time, yeah. Tea time.
Well, welcome, guys. It is Miss Liz. It is evening tea time. That's right. We did the afternoon tea. Now we're doing the evening tea. That's how we roll in this house. So before we get started, we're going to get you over to Miss Liz's YouTube channel, and we're going to get you to subscribe to Miss Liz, and we're going to get you to ring that little doorbell so you can watch these tea times at any time, at any pace. You can rewatch them, share them. If they resonate, give them to a loved one, a friend, a community member. That's what these tea times are here for. So before we get started, we're going to do disclaimer, bio, and we have a returning guest. And you know how much I love having my guests return, because then I get to dig a little deeper. And tonight we're going to do a triple tea. This afternoon we did a double tea. Tonight we're doing triple tea, because that's just how my guests are. They surprise me all the time. So let's get started, and then I'm going to get Donna in here, give you a little bit on Donna, and we're going to spill a triple cup of tea tonight. Disclaimer for Miss Liz's Tea Time live show. Miss Liz and myself is going live using StreamYard. Before leaving a comment, please grant StreamYard permission to see your name at StreamYard.com. Please be advised that the content brought forward for any Tea Time show hosted by myself, Miss Liz, is always brought forward in good faith. However, may bring forward dialogues and opinions that are not representative of my platform. The facts and information are perceived to be accurate at the given time of airing. All Tea Time guests and audience participants are responsible for using their good judgment and taking any action that may relate to the discussion. The content brought forward may include discussions for some where they may be emotionally at risk. It's significant to know that this show is engaging in discussion forums only to offer and inspire awareness and connection, and is not providing therapeutical advice. If you have any questions about the disclaimer or the panelist discussion, you may freely contact me, Miss Liz, through my email at bookingmissliz@gmail.com. Moving forward, should you choose to voluntarily participate in tonight's show in any aspect, I myself, Miss Liz, welcomes you. And should you decide that the show is not made for you at this time, I respect those wishes and will see you at a later date and time in the future. Again, all Tea Time shows are hosted on Thursdays, 3 p.m. and 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you see a Tea Time on a Monday or Tuesday, it's a surprise Tea Time or returning guest, or we have a special guest that has reached out to Miss Liz, and I wasn't unable to get them out in time when I released my guest lineup. Now, a little bit about Donna. Well, Donna is a returning guest, first and foremost. Donna Conrad, is an award-winning author, journalist, activist, and teacher. Her core values revolve around individual empowerment, a sustaining ideal running through the books she writes. Her writing interests include articles for Fine Art periodical. I don't think I said that right. I'm going to get her to get me memoir, narrative nonfiction, as well as historical, flash, and paranormal fiction. She is a regular presenter at Writers' Conference. Donna's life is varies as her writing. She embraces change as an exciting adventure. She has studied writing with the likes of Allen Ginsberg, Lawrence Ferlini, and Jack Wright. Her first published book, House of the Moon, Surviving the 60s, is a memoir that explores life in the term of, I'm not sure how to say that word, I'm going to get her to say it for me, decade that changed the world. Her upcoming 4-book historical fiction series, The Magdalene Chronicles, has been acquired by Coal Creek Press. Book 1, The Last Magdalene, will be released April 9th, 2024. So I get the goods before it comes out. So let me get Donna in here, and we're going to spill a triple cup of tea. So tonight's tea we're doing is teaching truth, thoughtfulness. And then we're jumping into the E's, empowerment, empathy, and engagement. Then the A, authenticity, activation, and art. So we got a good cup of tea coming. So grab your tea, grab your coffee, grab a glass of wine. You do not have to drink tea with Miss Liz. And let me get Donna in here.
Hi.
Welcome, Donna.
I'm having tea.
Donna,
I'm having
I
tea
struggle
today.
so much with some of these words. Like, I'm just like, I'm not even gonna. I tried, and I'm like, no, I'm gonna get my guests to say it. So, can you tell me where I had some struggles?
Well,
And then
one
we'll get
was
those words.
tumultuous, which
Yeah,
means very,
that's a mouthful.
tumultuous. Yeah, that's a mouthful. You got to realize I was a high school English teacher. I got to use the big words every once in a while.
That's okay because you get my brain to move a little bit, right? So now I know
Right.
how to
Tumultuous.
tumultuous. See, I get lessons
Close
on
enough.
tea time.
Close enough.
My oh, and I struggled with the name Lawrence. Do you want to say his last name?
Lawrence Ferlinghetti. He was one of the beat poets in the 50s and 60s, and he founded. Okay, now my brain is gone. Someone help me. City Lights Bookstore in San Francisco. So it was one of those things. My brain flashed off. Remembering the.
I swear, guys, we're only drinking tea
for now.
For now, right? Well, Donna, it's a pleasure to have you back. I always love when my guests come back because then I get to go a little deeper with you guys. The ice is already broken, so then I can dig a little deep. So, Donna, I want to get into it in case anybody missed your first time on Tea Time. Share a little bit on who you were as a little girl and who you are now as a grown lady.
Oh my goodness! As a little girl, let's see. I remember this part. Well, so as a little girl, very little, I thought everything was possible. I mean, my mother read to me from every night, and my father was wonderful. My sister and brother were delightful, and I just had a wonderful time. And then I hit about 12 years old, and my life kind of fell apart. So as a little girl, it was all wonderful. As a teenager, it was all pretty bad decisions, violence, kind of waking up to a nightmare from this idyllic dream. And so now as an adult, I've gone back to the idyllic dream. My life is good. I love writing. I love engaging with people. I love telling stories about women that have been marginalized throughout history. And so I've kind of flipped. Those middle years are kind of like, okay, we're not going to pass them by. We're going to write them as good therapy here in House of the Moon.
Right? House of the Moon. It was a good time, guys.
It was the 60s were a good time. Yes, it was. So, yeah, I think I've kind of flipped back to being that idyllic child who knew anything was possible.
So, Donna, what got you into writing?
So I used to write stories and read them to my teddy bears and my bunny rabbits. And I think what got me into writing was my maternal grandfather, who was Irish, big red Irish guy. And he was an incredible storyteller. I mean, he had us as kids just entranced. And I learned from him that you can make almost any experience accessible by turning it into a story. And, whether it's a moral, story with a moral, or whether it's just for entertainment, or whether it's for information, he made storytelling come alive to me. So I think that got me into it. And then my high school English teacher, when I was deep into drug, sex, and rock and roll in the 60s, he saw something in me and kind of pulled me out of my shell and gave me a love of literature as opposed to just the storytelling. So combining those two gave me the love of writing.
I like that you said love of literature. That sounds like a good country song.
Yeah, it would be.
For any of those songwriters out there, right? You can maybe write a good song called "The Love
It's
of
yours.
Literature."
Take it.
Right?
The love of literature.
We did that the last time we had tea time too. I think we put something out there that we were like, if anybody's listening, you can go ahead and do this.
There's
So
enough
Donna,
for everybody.
right? We had a good old time the first time. Donna, let's get into this book that's coming out. I get first dibs because it's coming out on the 9th of April. So I get the pre-show, right?
You do. You do. Yes.
So what can we expect on April 9th, this book?
On April 9th, well, the last Magdalene is my recasting the person that we know now as Mary Magdalene that has come down to us through the New Testament. But it's a first person narrative. So it's her story told her way of her being a strong, courageous, passionate woman who stood on her own, was vital at a pivotal point in history, and yet has been written out of the history that has come down to us. So after working with a Magdalene scholar, a Hebraic scholar, a Christian scholar, doing tons of research, I've come up with a story that I feel is historically accurate, with the fictional part being what was said, because we can't know what was said, but what it was like in first century Judea when an entire people was oppressed and occupied by a foreign power, Rome, which was incredibly patriarchal. And we've heard, make the world Rome. So they came into this country, to these people that worship differently than they did, and say, okay, your money's not worth anything. You can't say what you want. We're going to tell you what to do. And so it was an incredibly stressful, violent, and repressive time. And the people were waiting for what we know today as Messiah, or in Hebrew, it's Messiah, unless I messed that up. But that meant a king. It didn't have the religious overtones until like the Middle Ages. So it was strictly a king. And this king was prophesied that when he arose and took the throne, he would overthrow a mighty enemy and establish 1,000-year reign of a golden reign of peace and prosperity, and unite the two kingdoms of Judea and Israel that were split after King Solomon's death. And so it's looking at it from, I guess you could say, demythifying the people that have come down to us. So Yeshua Bar Joseph, who we know as Jesus, Joseph of Arimathea, the Magdalene, the whole cadre that went about trying to overthrow Rome.
So the last Magdalene, was that also about a goddess, Donna?
A what? I'm sorry?
A goddess?
The Magdalene, I am saying, was a title, much like in Arthurian legend, the Merlin was the chief druid. It wasn't, Merlin wasn't their name, wasn't his name. It was a title. And so I'm saying the Magdalene is a title of a high priestess. In Hebrew, Magda means elevated or tower or high. And the town of, so we often hear it's Mary of Magdala. The town of Magdala. The town of Magdala did not exist by that name at that time. So to say someone came from a town that didn't exist until late in the first century, Trisea was renamed Magdala, just like the town in the area of Nazareth was renamed Nazareth once Christianity began to expand. They went back and had towns changed. But to say that Miriam in Hebrew, when she's mentioned in Aramaic, I'm sorry, in the New Testament, the original language it was written in, and Greek, it's either Miriam the Magdalene or it's Miriam Magdalene. It's never of. And so that's part of the story that's been reshaped to fit a certain narrative, that she was just this woman who came from a fishing village. And she supported Jesus.
So Donna, when did the religious aspect come into it?
I think When did it come into it? Well, there are several different
I guess there's
incarnations of
different
it.
versions, right? There's different.
Well, they're different is, I mean, Christianity began as a sect of Judaism. It was kind of be the Yeshua Bar Joseph sect within, and his brother James started in Jerusalem to do that, to promote his teachings. And then Saul, who later became Paul, who we know as Saint Paul, took the teachings and started to expand them into the Hellenized world, which would be the Greek world, the non-Hebrew world. And that's when some of the teachings started changing. Some of the narrative was changed to make the Hebrews or the Jews responsible for the crucifixion, which is historically completely incorrect. It was a Roman punishment for insurrection, and that's what he was crucified for. But if you think about it, and this is not to upset any Christians or anything, but if you think about it, if you're trying to get a Hellenized or Roman world to accept a religion, you don't want to say, oh, and by the way, you crucified their savior. So it is spun so it made it look like, oh, the poor Romans, poor Pontius Pilate. He was such a nice guy. He couldn't help, all the Jews were telling him to crucify. And that is historically inaccurate in most ways, because Rome didn't care what the people thought, which is why they crucified people by the thousands.
Yeah. So Donna, what got you into this topic?
A Magdalene scholar. Yeah, a Magdalene scholar, Johnny Cozina, who read one of my earlier books and said, you write so wonderfully about women. Why don't you write about Mary Magdalene? And like most people who in the Western world, I said, wasn't she in the Bible? And the woman said, okay, let's go talk about her for a while. And so she introduced me to the historical records we have outside of the New Testament that bring her more to life. And then she took me to southern France and showed me all the Magdalene holy sites that are throughout the south of France. And the more I learned about her, the more I really needed to tell her story. And just the opening line of the book, I'll tell you, I'm saying, I need to tell this story. How do I tell it? And it's 2:30 in the morning. All the writers out there, you'll get this. I'm there, and all of a sudden I wake up and I hear this voice that says, I have heard tales of my madness. And I went, oh, I know who's talking to me now. And that one line set the tone for the whole book. That here is this woman who has been demonized, has been maligned, who's been written out of history. And yet she's heard tales of her madness. And now she's going to tell her story.
So Donna, we have a question here. I'm not sure if I'm going to pronounce it right, but I'm going to read it out. They're asking, are you a theologian?
Am I a theologian? No. I have, though, studied extensively both the Torah and the New Testament, multiple versions of the New Testament. But I did work with a Hebraic scholar out of Haifa University and a PhD in divinity, Christian divinity out of New York. And so if I had questions about either Hebraic custom or law, or Christian interpretation of the texts that have come down to us, I would go to these two women and ask questions. And so I've done a lot of study, but I'm not a theologian.
Can you tell me what a theologian is?
Well, theology is the study or the study or the text of dealing with religion. So a theologian would be someone who has like a PhD or is at least has a master's and has studied in depth all aspect of religion theology.
See, I
And
just
so I've
learned something new. See my get. See
there
my
you
universe
go.
and
Thank
my
you for that
guests always
question.
teach me something.
That was a
This
good
is why we
question.
do this, right? This is why we do this podcast. I'm learning all the time. You're never too old to learn something new, and I just learned something new. So thank you for that, and thank you to the viewer for asking that question, because I've never heard of the word. I never knew of the word. So, and for all my listeners out there, we just learned something together. So thank you for that, Donna.
Theology.
Right? So, Donna, I want to get into your tea, because your tea is really interesting. Like, you really
Ooh,
gave me a triple tea here.
I
So
did.
let's go through this tea. Let's go through the T, the E, and the A, and let's really have some fun with it. Because for the T, you gave me teaching, truth, thoughtfulness. So let's get those three words out there. Why those three words?
Well, teaching is a big part of my life. It's what I'm dedicated to. And whether it was teaching high school English, teaching karate, teaching dance, teaching writing, I think we as teachers learn as we go. And I think passing on knowledge and perceptions and ways to learn more is so important to the world. It's how we advance, it's how we mature. The second one,
Truth.
truth.
What truth do you want out there, girl?
Oh, goodness. So, truth to me is what is in your heart and in your mind. And truth to me is not always kind, but it's always, gosh, another word is honest. But I try in my life to always tell the truth as I know it, as I've studied it. And truth is really kind of under attack these days. We have uh, so many different stories told that are all supposed to be truthful. So I think for everybody to be as true to themselves and as true to the subject matter they're presenting is vital also.
Yeah, because I found on your website where did I put this? Be yourself. Everybody else is taken. So
Okay,
there's your truth.
Oscar Wilde. God, I love Oscar Wilde, but he said that, yeah. Be yourself. Everyone else is taken.
Right? Like, I think it's plain and simple, right? Just be honest and be yourself,
Mhm.
and the truth is not always easy to hear, but it always has a way of surfacing. It always has a way of coming to the table.
Well,
So I,
changes throughout time. I mean, there was a time when truth was that the world was flat. We didn't know any better. So people who said that were not being dishonest. That was the truth as we knew it. And so to keep expanding our understanding is to find more truth.
yeah. And the last word for your T is thoughtfulness.
Yes.
So where are we going with that one?
Oh gosh, to be thoughtful is for me, to take a deep breath, to sink into my thoughts and how to express them in a way that is kind, which is another word for being thoughtful, and to always take into consideration who I'm with and what is important. So some things are very important to me and other things are not, but being thoughtful to me is another way of saying being kind.
Well, and we could say thoughtful, because when we use the word kind, I think it gets overused like the word love, right? Everyone's saying, "Oh,
Mhm.
I love you," but they've lost the meaning of the word love. You
Mhm.
know, the word truth. A lot of people. I'm being truthful. I'm being honest. Ugh. I really want to just take everybody, and you know how we used to have to do 5 words and figure out the definitions in school. The teachers would tell us to do our homework, and we had to figure. I'd like to send a lot of people, like, when they come to me and they say, well, I'm honest, and then you find out that they've lied to you 3, 4 times. It's like, do you understand what the word honest means? Like, so, but
That's
let's
why I
get into your
typically say I try to tell the truth. As on the
Wait,
last
you try.
yeah, you try. And like I said, I try not to be judgmental. I still
Right?
am, but it's an attempt all the time.
Yeah. And I think that we all have faults in us,
Oh, sure.
but we all can try our best. So let's get into the E's, Donna. You
Okay.
gave me empowerment, empathy, and engagement. I think this is going to be some fun here. So
Oh,
let's start.
empowerment. Well,
I know you got a lot of empowerment, girl.
well, it is, to me, empowerment again is being able to step forward and stand for something that is important to you. And through why I started writing about women throughout history that have been silenced or marginalized is to empower their memories, but to empower people today to make a stand, to say, this is important. I'm important. I have a voice. And for women, for so many minorities, our voices are taken away.
Yeah.
And so empowerment to me is standing up and saying, I exist, I have a voice, I have thoughts, and I'm going to express myself.
I love it. Let's get into the empathy.
Empathy. Empathy is being willing to put yourself in someone else's shoes. To empathize with someone is different than sympathizing with them. To empathize is to be willing to attempt to feel what they're feeling. And we talked earlier about my Irish grandpa.
Yeah.
And he would always say, you never know what a person's been through, so don't judge them. So I guess empathy goes with the judgment. I try, especially if people are not happy with what I say or what I do or what I write, to empathize with where they're coming from. And I think last time we talked about this, I don't feel somebody else needs to be wrong for me to be right. And so I
Right?
don't need to convince somebody and say, no, 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 you're wrong. Your understanding is wrong. Our understandings can be different and they're both okay. And I think that is close to what I consider empathy.
Yeah. And we did talk about that on the first tea time, We
Mhm.
both have different perspectives. You see the 6, I see a 9. Doesn't mean that either one of us is wrong. We just see it in a different way. And when we're
Mhm.
reading a story, it depends on the mood and emotions that we're in as well. Like we might read a sentence and we might be like, and then we might be like giggling because it kind of took us off guard. It depends on where we are, the state of mind that we're in too, when we're reading and when we're writing and working with others, right? It has to do with all the
Mhm.
emotions. And we talked about that this afternoon with Marbeth, that, you know, the emotional code of understanding human beings, right? That we all have different energies and we all bring something different to the table. And sometimes one energy won't match with the other energy. So,
Mhm. And that's what empaths are able to feel, what other people feel. And so it's difficult for them to maintain their boundaries. But I would say, in writing this book about first century Judea and about people that are very dear and even deities to other people, I really tried to have a lot of empathy for people's feelings. It's a very touchy subject.
yeah.
And I'm not saying I'm right. I'm saying that this is my perspective from a historical and archaeological point of view. But I
Yeah.
always held it in my heart to be empathetic and to the characters.
So let's talk about those characters before we get into the last E word. Because
Yes.
I know these characters got some sense of humor in them.
Oh,
And she's
yeah,
we can
yes.
give too much away. Go grab a book.
Okay, let's get into the characters. You go.
So the characters, Donna, can you give us a little bit on the characters without giving out too much? Because the book is coming out April 9th. So if anybody would like to go and grab a copy, right? But we're not
Right,
going to
and-
give everybody the goodies, right? We're going to just give them a little tweak. So maybe give me a little tweak on one character in the book.
Oh, well, we could take Miriam the Magdalene, the last Magdalene. And she is a highly intelligent, highly courageous. I guess my grandpa would call her a real pistol. I mean, she's
pistol.
she's got a temper, and she's got actually, I will say it, a sense of entitlement. She has been raised as the leading daughter of Bethany that's going to be married to a king. And she does have a certain sense of privilege. And throughout the book, she is brought to the reality of what life is like for the people. There's a part of the book and near the beginning where someone else tells her, you don't know anything about what the people outside of your temple are experiencing under Roman rule. So don't act like you do. So what does she do? She takes a pupil outside of the temple and she learns about her people and the struggle that they're under. And there's a line in it, that says, and I learned that though my people would bow their head to no other God, they bowed their back to the whip of Rome.
Wow.
So
that's one question I have for you, Donna. When you wrote this book, did you write it in the Greek language?
No, nor in Aramaic. I don't. There are some Aramaic and some Hebrew words in it, but I really had help from my Hebraic scholar, but it was English flat out.
Okay.
So yeah,
So
Magdalene is a real woman who goes through so much, and her arc is one that I think is empowering. Back to that word.
Yep. So see, if anybody wants to know more about this book, you got to go at April 9th, because that's when the book's coming.
It's pre-order right now, and it'll be delivered on the 9th.
Oh, well, look at you go there. And we have, before we get into the word engagement, Donna, I want to get it out there that this book has already won a couple of awards.
5, as a matter of fact.
So
and I encourage all writers out there to enter pre-publication contests. Put it out there, even if you have to do the dreaded synopsis. Yes, you do. We talked about that before the show.
Yes, we
did. But enter in contests and see what comes back. You could win. You could have your work validated before it's even published, and that helps move the book forward. And actually, winning a couple of the contests early on helped me find a publisher, because somebody else that is in the know in the writing community has said, yeah, this book is worth it. And so just, enter them. So 5 awards. Yay.
I think it's pretty cool. The book is not even out yet and the awards are already won. So that just goes to tell you how good the book is, right? You want to go and grab a copy for this book. I never realized that you were able to enter awards before the book was released. So that's something new for the listeners as well, to know a little bit more information on that. So how could they go about doing that, Donna?
Well, you look at your writers' conferences. One of the book won first place at the PNWA, which is, if I can talk, Pacific Northwest Writers Conference, which takes place in Seattle, and it won first place for historical fiction there. And there are contests all over that are and it's specific to genre. And so look at contests. One thing one told me that if the contest has like 80 categories and costs $100 to enter, it's more about making money for the contest than it is about the writing.
Oh,
So look
really?
at, well, yeah, because if you've got 80, it's more the business
Yeah.
of the business end of writing. So look for legitimate contests that generally have a small, a low fee to enter, and that they're willing to give you comments back. And so I would say a lot of the writing conferences, the Historical Novel Society conference, they have a wonderful contest. As I said, PNWA, Surrey International Writing Conference, they are really, really, what am I going to say, authentic. And so don't be afraid to enter them, because that's when you get feedback. And then try to be graceful when you get the feedback.
Feedback is good, right? I tell this all the time.
Feedback
Like,
is good.
if
Yes.
we, a good construction feedback is good because it actually helps us as writers to dig deeper or go in a different
Mhm.
direction that we might have not thought of going had we not gotten that feedback. Somebody might read the story in the book and say, you know what, I wish you would have went just a little deeper, or a little less. That was a little bit too much. So then when you're writing a second or a third of a series, then you know where to pull back and where to put in.
Absolutely. And the other thing along that line is for writers to find their tribe, and to find those people that polish all of your good points, and kindly point out all those areas that you're not quite as good at, and they always encourage you. If you end up in a group of writers that are always putting you down and saying, that didn't work, get out of it. We don't need that in our lives, but we need constructive criticism. And I belong to the Creative Academy of Writers, which is out of Canada, an online group. And within it, they have different subgroups. And my historical fiction subgroup has listened over and over on open mic night, and 6 of them were beta readers. So, and the book changed dramatically when I got their comments back, and they all know historical fiction. So if you're writing fantasy, make sure the people that you're working with understand the parameters, the world of fantasy. Because if you go with someone who writes straight history, they might not get the fantasy part of it. So go to your peers, and that's what I say when you find your tribe, those people that you really belong with.
Yeah.
And oftentimes you find that at writers' conferences, which is where I found the Creative Academy. It was up at the Surrey International Writers Conference.
Well, and that brings us, Donna, right into your word, engagement, right?
Engagement, yes.
Right?
My high school English teacher told me once, this is one of his favorite lines. He had filled out a lot of scholarship applications for me. And I said, do you think I stand a chance? I mean, I didn't want to engage. I didn't want to move out. And he just looked at me and said, you have to take a chance to stand a chance. Don't you now?
And you said that on the first tea time, because I remember
Yeah.
hearing that.
he was remarkable. And that is engagement, to reach out, to take that chance to say, I'm going to go to this conference. I'm going to enter this contest. I'm going to walk up to this author that I admire and say, I love your work. Or, how did you do it? Or something. Engage with people. What you do all the time, Miss Liz, you engage with people. And this is how we learn. This is how we grow. This is how we change.
Well, I like engaging with people. I get to learn cool things.
Absolutely.
So, Donna, I want to get into the A's now. And you had already brought up the one word, authentic, but you gave me authenticity. And there's a big difference between authentic and authenticity, correct?
Authenticity. Well, authenticity, yeah, is the same root word of being authentic. But authenticity is embracing um, your true self or the truth as you see it at the time. And so, yeah, the root word is being authentic. So I think authenticity is just kind of tumultuous. Yeah, it's a fancy way of saying it.
You just like to
But
twist my tongue.
exactly. I stay up at
I get
night
my
saying,
twisted
what
tea
word
when
can I
Donna
give
comes
her?
to the table, guys. Like he twists my tongue all the time. Oh,
Yeah, but I think
Your sec, yeah,
authenticity is something that I look for in people, in books, in movements, in rhetoric.
yeah. I'm so happy you said that because we see so much out there, but the authenticity is not always at the table, right?
Mhm.
And it goes right back to the empathy, right? Because you can feel the energies. You can feel, like, ooh, I'm not sure about this table. Let me go to the next table. It's like when you go to
Well,
a
and
conference, right?
yes,
And you feel pulled to a table, and then there's a table beside, and you're like, oh no, I'm going to skip this one.
exactly. Exactly. And it's just being authentic in yourself, saying, this is my feeling. It may have nothing to do with what that person is doing, but for me at this time, it's not right or it's absolutely right.
Yeah,
And be willing to be flexible. What's right today may not be right tomorrow. What you were saying about reading a book.
yeah.
I one of my favorite book series is The Dragon Riders of Pern. I by Anne McCafferty. I tried to read that book 3 times and just was like, "Ugh, this is so horrible. There is no way I can get through this." Okay, set it aside, open it back up because everybody said you have to read it. The fourth time I opened the book, boom, I was right in it. I was like, "Oh, this is incredible," and that's because I had changed
Yeah.
over that time, and now it was something that I could empathize with, I could relate to, it had meaning for me at that time. But I was willing to put it away the first 3 times.
Well, and that's it, right? Because we weren't ready for you weren't ready for the story. You weren't ready
Mhm.
to see it, right? And sometimes that's what it is. We grab a book and we're like, "Oh, we're going to read this book. We really want to read it." And then we're just like, "Oh, I'm not sure about this book." Like, put it aside. It took you 4 times, Donna. So,
On
I
the fourth
definitely
time,
tell
and
my
then I
kids
read
that's why the
every book.
library's there. You can go and read it at any time.
Yeah, and I think there are like 20 books in the series, and I read them all once I started it.
But you had to get that flow, right? It's just like a good tea, right? You
Exactly.
just got to get that flow. And then you're like, oh, okay, now I get it.
It had to be
So your
steeped
second,
just right.
right? It had to be steeped and steamed. Your second word you gave me, I've never heard this word before. So I'm going to get a little
Uh-oh.
education on this one as well. It's the action, actuation.
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 Actuation. That
Yes, I've
means,
never heard that.
to put it bluntly, do what you say you're going to do. Actuation.
Oh, well,
Make
I
it
like that word.
happen. So
Oh, that's
it
my new
you
word.
make it happen. So the actuation, you turn the key in the car, the actuation is the engine starting. So it's doing what you say you're going to do.
I
And
like it.
it is the mechanism by which something is accomplished.
See,
Whereas
and this is why I have guests like you, Donna, because I have learned, right?
well,
Because I
though,
didn't have that education. I'm a high school dropout. I got married, I got pregnant, I had all the babies and all of that. But I mean, I learned at almost 50 years old. I'm going to be 50 in May, and I'm learning today from you, Donna. So thank you for that because
you are
we're
so
never
welcome,
too
and never stop learning. Never. But
right.
the work something is activated. That term. So this is the mechanism by which something is activated.
Okay, so these are like the gears.
This is like the actuation.
So this is a chain on a bike, right? We're on a bike and we have the gears, we have the chain. So
and it's going and it's working.
right?
It's actuated.
Actuated.
And for everybody
And
listening, these are not dictionary. These are not dictionary definitions. These are just how I relate to these words, because you should be getting comments going, that's not what the dictionary says.
Right. We're going to get everybody doing homework after this tea time. And Donna, your last word was art.
Art.
I'm curious about this word, art.
Art is, to me, as the creation of something that is visualized or realized inside of a person, and is it is given out to the world. And to me, in writing, there is the art of writing and there's the craft. And for everybody, you need to have the craft. Like, you might want to paint the Mona Lisa. You better have some craft behind that to produce that type of artistic result. So the art, to me, is longing for the divine. I mean, it's putting that into form. It's giving life. And for me, it's given life to beauty. And I know there are people who create art that is disturbing, art that is destructive, and art that is hateful. So art can elicit any emotion. And to me, that's what art does. It elicits emotion, but it comes with the creative genius that is in each of us. And that creative genius, it longs for expression. So to me, I mean, your tea, that is art. Your grandma's baking is art. It doesn't have to be a painting or a book or a sculpture. It is something that is created and, to me, brings beauty and love into the world.
And you did promise, you've been promoting this tea time, and you said we were going to talk about the universe, and look, the universe comes into the conversation.
Yeah, I said
has
life.
A way of bringing it to the table, guys. I'm telling you, Donna, I love having you here as a guest because you open my eyes to different ways of seeing things and different perspectives of seeing words. Because people say art and they think of music and painting and sculptures and stuff like that. But you just put us into the word art in a different, deeper understanding. Grandma's cooking, this tea time, it's different art forms created in the universe. And I just love it. Like, you always take me on a journey, and I love it. Like,
oh, thank you. What you're referring to, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, what you're referring to is when I said, join Miss Liz and I, because we'll talk about life, the universe, and everything, which comes from Douglas Adams. Anybody listening out there will know from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And that was the question that all of these people throughout all ages decided, what is the meaning of life, the universe, and everything. And they gave this to Big Think, the computer, and the computer said it would take several million years to come up with the answer. And then you have to read the book to find out what the answer was. Those of you out there will probably know it. But
you just get me on the seat of my pants here. Like, I'm on the chair and she's like, we gotta go. Like, we're
if
driving,
if you know Douglas Adams, you will know that the answer is not what you expect. And he was brilliant, brilliant artist.
Yeah. I just love how you put me on the seat of my pants all the time. Like, I'm always like, where are we going? I'm getting excited. Like, she's going to take me here. She's taking me there. You know what I mean? So we always have a blast here when we have tea time together, me and you, Donna. I want to get into your color. Your favorite color. Do you remember what
Oh,
it is?
what did I say?
I don't know. Take a guess.
Purple? Purple?
She got it. Ding, ding, ding.
I
We have
did
a
it.
winner.
Oh. Okay. You had me worried there for a moment. Yes, I know. It depends on the
She's like, oh,
day.
what did I tell her? What did I tell her?
I gotta tell you, some days it is definitely red, other days it's black. Overall, I think purple. Yes.
So why purple, Donna?
Oh goodness. Well, we're gonna go into a couple things. Purple is a blending of two primary colors, red and blue. And I think the red is life blood, and the blue is that cool feeling of love that washes over you. And you can see, I mean, I wear blue a lot with some purple in it and that. And then also purple because at a certain time in the world, it was one of the most difficult and expensive colors to make. And you've heard of Tyrian purple, which figures in the book The Last Magdalene. And it was not only royal, it was sacred. And it was difficult to achieve. And now we just look at the color purple and it's like it's everywhere. But there was a time when it was exceptional.
Yeah. I'm so glad that you remembered because I wasn't going to give it to you. I was like, I
was like,
want
okay,
to see if he's going to remember.
this is not a moment for senior mind freeze. What?
I would have been really red. I'm not sure about that one. But we do have these days where it is different colors that we're drawn to. And, our emotions again, how we look at things, the perspective of the moment. Donna, you gave me the word resilient for you.
Yes.
I asked you to give me one word to describe yourself as an individual. And you gave me resilient. I want to know why.
Because I am. I keep going, and I say that to everybody I meet. There are days that you don't want to move. There are days that you don't want to face. But finding that resilient part in yourself, and to me that is at the heart of every living being. That it's that kernel that keeps us moving forward. And so for me, even on the worst days or worst nights, then it's like, I can do this. I can keep going. And if I don't, what is the alternative? That nothing happens, that I'm not living my life. And so I think resilience. And now you're talking about colors all day today. I'm in the Pacific Northwest. Spring has sprung, but Mother Nature didn't get the memo.
So you got snow?
Yeah, so not snow, but cold and rain. So I've been in this wonderful kind of a sage green sweatshirt.
Oh.
And it's a little lighter than sage green, but it reminded me all day long that spring is coming. That green is the color of growth, of new birth, of moving forward. And so, I gave you resilient a long time before that. But it is, to me, you keep moving forward. If nothing else, if you say, one day at a time, that's too much for me to do, then make it 1 hour at a time. And in the worst case scenario, one breath at a time. Just take another breath and wait and see what happens. And it turns around. Just one more breath. I mean, life is an incredible gift. And living another day, as you know, is not guaranteed. So this is the day, and this is what I will do. And I will be resilient as long as I'm alive.
And I love that you said that because I am. I like that because we need to stand strong on our words, stand strong on what we we look at ourselves. And resilience is a strong word, and I'm glad you gave me that word because that's what you are. You're a tough cookie.
Thank
What is
you.
that old saying? You eat piss and vinegar is what my
Piss
grandpa
and
used to
vinegar,
say.
yes.
You
Yeah.
know,
Some days one
you're a
more than
straight
the other. Yeah.
shooter,
I
right?
try to be. That's what I say. I try to speak truth, which is why it's one of my words. And if, yeah, I don't know what else to say to that other than
Yeah,
I try to. And I try to do my best every day. And I try to stay resilient. And there are times where it is down to, okay, the next breath, as
yeah,
opposed to the next day or the next book. Sometimes that is a big goal. I mean, I'm writing The Lost and the Holy as book 2 in the Magdalene Chronicles, and that's a big commitment. And
yeah,
some mornings it really is just the next breath. Take the next step. What do you need to do?
yeah. So Donna, you have a book fair or book fest coming up. In,
Yes, I will be at the Los Angeles Times Festival of Books in Los Angeles on April 20th and 21st. I'll be signing books with the Black Chateau in their tent in the gold section. And I look forward to seeing anybody that happens to be in LA. Drop on by. I think it's booth 153,
oh,
but
look at
it
that,
should be
153.
exciting. Yeah, it's
Oh,
the Festival of Books. I think there will be hundreds of thousands of people there. And so
wow.
for writers and readers, it's a great event.
So Donna, what final message do you have for everybody?
Oh my goodness. I think I've said it all. But
You're never done, girl.
yeah, yeah, I've never done. You're right. You know me too well.
I do.
I would say for people, a final message for people, be kind. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others. And if we all were to be as kind as we're capable of being, I think the world would turn around pretty fast. And it would be a place where we could create more art, where we could create more joy. So just be kind. And I said that to an artist friend, a writer who's having a hard time. And I said, be kind to you. So everybody out there that's listening, be kind, be nice to yourself. Love, creativity, everything starts with yourself.
I love that you said yourself because we're always kind to others, but we forget about ourselves. So thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
So Donna, if anybody would like to reach out to you, how can they reach you?
At donnaconrad.com is my website. And if you sign up, I don't spam people. I don't send out a lot of stuff. But if you sign up, you'll be entered to win a ebook copy a real copy, a print copy of
She's
either
like,
The
well,
Lost Magdalene or House of the Moon, your thing. And then you also will get a secret password for the lost chapters of House of the Moon,
oh, look at that.
which were those that didn't make it into the book, but I still think they should have made it into the book.
Right, because
Editors,
when you write a book, they take some stuff out, so you got to have
they
those little
do.
bonuses, right?
They do. Yeah. It's my revenge on the editor. Who is great.
I will
Who made a
return.
great book. People will read this. Yes. So there, and then you can always email me at donnaconrad.com. I love starting conversations and exchanging ideas with writers and readers. So be kind, be strong.
Thank you so much. It was a blast having you back. And you have wrapped up March of 2024. We are jumping into April already. And it is Easter weekend. So if you're celebrating Easter with your families, please travel safe and enjoy it. Take the moments and make special memories with your loved ones because life is precious. And I want to thank you, Donna, for closing up my March and good luck with April 9th. And for anybody that would like to get a pre-copy, reach out to Donna. I believe you can go to the website and get the pre-orders, Donna.
Or you can go to Amazon or any any location. They're up for pre-orders everywhere. And you can
Awesome.
get either ebook or print book.
Awesome.
Good.
And I will see everybody back April 4th with a whole new month of guests. And we're going to be touching on some Easter eggs. That's right. Miss Liz is leaving some treats. In March, we had some Lucky Charms. And in April, we're doing Easter eggs. And in May, Miss Liz will be off. So there'll be a lot of reruns of all 5 seasons that you can check out, because Miss Liz is taking some personal time to recharge herself and recharge her tea. So until then, I will see everybody April 4th, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with the next tea, and 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we'll serve another TEA to you all. Until then, thank you to all the supporters. Thank you to all the Instagram watchers. Miss Liz, I believe, Donna, you're my 5th show on Instagram. So thank you to all the viewers on Instagram. I do see you, and I appreciate you guys tuning in with your questions and comments. So thank you again. And I'll see everybody on April 4th, and have a happy Easter from Miss Liz, from my house to your house.